Okay, guys, today is the day that we finally have a basic working model of how the damage is applied in Way of the Hunter. So we're going to go over a bit of that today in this video. Hopefully the video is not too long. Don't know, still recording live. It's been a long journey. About a year and a half ago, I'd started dabbling and trying to figure out how the damage works on the animals. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, haven't been around the channel forever, well, if you've been around recently, then you would have heard me talking about it a lot. Because with the upcoming ammunition changes, I kind of dove back into it. And we got a bunch of guys kind of working on it, trying to figure it out. And what it's all about is it's when you shoot an animal, right, you have penetration damage, or penetration energy, cavity energy. So penetration damage and cavity damage. And it's all sort of measured out, displayed really nicely in the harvest screen. We'll take a look at a few here in a minute. But then you get these little damage bars, like little health bars. On the right of the screen, you know, for the lungs and the stomach and the intestines and the flesh and everything like that. But we could never figure out exactly how they get filled up precisely. We know that it gets filled up with penetration and cavity damage, but we could never get a working model to understand exactly how much is being filled in there, because it's not direct from the info that you get on the screen. Anyways, it's complicated. But we're gonna go over a few things, and I'm gonna explain for those that want to know, because it doesn't really affect like the average player or whatever. You don't really need to know this. You know, pick your favorite rifle, make sure it's strong enough, hit them broadside, you're good to go. You don't need to know too much. But with like I was saying, with the ammo change coming up, it might be good to know a bit more about how the damage is applied to the organs. So we're gonna take a look at that. Okay, so to explain, we're gonna be using this awesome melanistic mule deer here for one of the examples. Now, it's a failed shot, but sometimes failed shots can be the best way to explain what's going on. Or for example, what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this one. And I'm just going to explain how the damage sort of gets added up. Then we're going to look at another deer, just to show that it's working in two different instances that are different. In a certain way that hopefully can be easily understood. And then what we'll do, just so you know I'm not fully baloney, we'll go out there and we'll go get a whitetail or mule. So basically whitetail mule, as far as I've been able to tell so far, pretty much the hit points of the organs are the same. But we're just dealing with lungs for now. I've only really worked with the whitetail and the mule and the moose. The moose have higher hit points, as you would imagine, as some of the organs. But anyways, we'll get into it. Okay. You ready here? Because when I start sort of explaining it, now I think I've got it down. That is, you know, it should work, to be clear. But some of, like, when I start sort of showing it, like some, you know, like, it's definitely not going to, like, match, like, real-world stuff or anything like that. So try not to use, like, real-world logic or whatever. It's video game logic here. And also, some of the information that this line graph is feeding the player is not displayed well, and some of it is information that can't be used. But anyways, you'll see what I mean here in a second as we get into it. So the issue that was causing all the different trouble is we have the two different damage types, right? Penetration damage and cavity damage, which is displayed across the top here. These two pieces of information are accurate and can be completely usable, because you add it together, you get the total damage down here, 2,493. I didn't actually do the math, but that's what it should come out to. Anyways, yeah, it should, unless there's an exit wound, or like an exit, like the bullet exits, then it'll be off by a little bit, but I think the bullet stays in here. Yeah, so that and that should equal pretty much this. So basically we have two different types of damage, but here's the problem. We only have one line graph, like one plot point, or plot points across the graph here, which doesn't really make any sense, because this is a penetration line graph, but we have cavity damage. So the trouble is, this line graph is supposed to have two lines on it. There should be one that's non-linear, that's cavity damage, and one that's linear, that's penetration damage. So we got the linear one, but we're missing the cavity damage. And my theory on this is, Because if you put if you actually plotted the cavity damage, like separated this, it's supposed to be 2 lines. So basically, this one's supposed to start down at 1100, and this one's supposed to start at 1200. And then when they reach a certain point, basically the cavity damage one isn't like a nice little straight line. It would be non-linear. It'll be like this funky cone going on here, right? Like it's not. It'll be a curve. Like very very non-linear. You'll get a lot more cavity at one point, and it'll just curve way differently. So that's the trouble. We have 2 different penetration, or 2 different types of damage smushed into the one line graph. And my theory is that, yeah, they probably at one point had both lines on here, and then having the cavity energy on the line graph probably made it look too messy and too complicated, so they got rid of it and just kind of threw it all in the one line. So that's where the confusion kind of comes into. So we have the actual penetration curve, but it has cavity damage tacked into it that confuses things. So basically, what you do is you have to remove the penetration damage from this line graph. No, not remove it. Well, essentially, you remove the cavity damage and leave the penetration damage, and that's what becomes usable. But I say we extract the penetration damage because we need to pull the information out from this line graph so we can apply it up here in the damage bars. Hopefully that makes sense because it's difficult to explain. But I'm going to show you here the example. So how you go about doing this is you need to find the entry part, like the entry level of joules when it impacts the lung here. So we're going to go kind of forward. As soon as the lung starts blinking, that's when the little plot happens, the little dot happens there. So basically what you gotta go is you gotta look down here and see what the current energy level is. Now this one's like it's like pretty much an even number, so you know, it's a 1002. You don't need to be super specific here, but you are gonna need a calculator, but it's not too hard math. Once you get it figured out, you don't really need the calculator. You can start eyeballing it, but this is basically how you kind of get the information. We need to know how many joules of energy was applied to the lung. So to do that, you take the entry energy, which is 1002 joules, and then you got to take the exit joules, and that's when it stops blinking. So that's 638, and you just need to know the difference. So we're going to subtract 638, and we're going to get a number 364. So that is how much energy and how much damage the line graph is saying went into the lung. The problem is 364 is including both penetration and cavity. But the cavity damage is not linear. It cannot be used from this graph. Basically, the cavity damage shouldn't be there in the line graph. All right, I'll talk about cavity damage later. Right now, we're just focusing on penetration. So we need to extract the penetration information out from the line graph. So we have 364 combined joules of energy in here. Right, some of it's incorrect and not usable, and some of it's good. The penetration is what's good. There is a ratio that is consistent for all calibers and all damages. That's between penetration and cavity damage. If you take the ratio between these two, penetration damage always does 48% of the total damage, or of the total energy or the total damage, and cavity does 52%. Of the total. So there's a ratio, 48 and 52. So we have the total damage in here, 364, and we're going to pull 48% of it out. So essentially you're just multiplying by 0.48, you're going to get a new number. We're going to get a number that's 174. I'm going to round up to 175. And essentially that is the number you're looking for. We have 175 joules of penetration damage. So we took how much joules was put into the lung, and we pulled 48% out of it, because 48% is the ratio between these two. So we got 48% out of it, and it's 174. That is the damage that goes into this penetration part. So you have this little, well, my color is set to these like kind of brown color, so cavity is white, and the brown is the penetration. So you look at that, and basically this bar fills up 175 hit points of damage. And if you get your little handy-dandy ruler out or something like that, you're going to notice that the halfway part is just like a little bit further. And yeah, it's going to be about 200 or so. 200 is about the halfway point. So if you double that, you're going to find out that this is 400 joules of hit points. to fill up this bar. So knowing that, we can now, we solved a few little pieces, you can take that and kind of extend it onwards. So that is just the quick little breakdown. Well, it was supposed to be quick, but it was like 10 minutes in, of how the damage is transferred from here to here. Now you're gonna say, Bumble, what happened to the cavity? You got this little like little ice cream sandwich kind of started here. You know, here's the little chocolate piece, here's the little vanilla piece. That is the cavity. But the 52% that's left here is not usable. And I'll show you why. You got to go over, and at this point it becomes a little less scientific because we haven't really gone super into the cavity part. The cavity part is not really super important when doing the main shot because it's kind of like bonus damage, and mainly focus on the penetration damage, and then the cavity. You know, if you're focusing on the pen damage, you'll be fine. And the cavity damage is, of course, is bonus. But it's good to know how it works. So if you zoom in the whole way, you get this little cone. And essentially what you have to do is figure out how much of this shaded cavity damage, like what percentage of that is actually in the lung. And then you just take that away from 1296. So it gets a little tricky because it's you're just kind of eyeballing it. So if you did want to know about how the cavity is figured out, you got to have the whole cone shown, and then you have to figure out how much percentage. Now the trick is, like, it's all area based, right? So it's hard, you know, you got to get some crazy equations to figure out the area of this cone if you really want to do it accurately, but you can pretty much eyeball it. The one thing that I kind of keep missing a little bit is there's actually more area in this cone than I give it credit for. There's very little out here. It's like the penetration line isn't included. So when you get out here to where it's really thin, it's pretty much no cavity at all. So you pretty much have to figure out how much percentage of this is in there, and it's going to be super difficult to eyeball this one. I'm going to say 20% is in the lung of cavity damage. So we can take a look at that. Now I haven't done this math yet, but basically we're looking for a chunk here. So let's just do it quick, because if this is going to be almost 200, and then that, what's this? This is about 75 or so if you look at the little ice cream part, right? Because that's about 100. Yeah, it's about 75. So if you know how long the bar is, you can pretty much guess how much cavity damage is there, and you kind of work back of it. So that's, I mean, if you're looking at that, then it's definitely not 20% because it's only 75 joules here. But that's where it kind of throws you, but it's really hard to sort of do. So at this point, we're not focusing too much on the cavity damage because it's just so hard to eyeball the darn thing. But I've learned that the cavity damage is definitely concentrated, well, obviously in the cone, but like way more than I'm always thinking. Out on these outer edges, it's very small. That's where my estimation is. If you're looking at the picture, I want to say it's like 20% in here. But here, this is what's throwing me off. It actually doesn't start to the blue line here, and I'm starting it back here. So it's like right here to here, and that's it. So it's this little section of the thing. So it takes a lot. But anyways, it's only gonna be like 75 to, like, it looks like it's less than 100. But anyways, that's how that works. All right, so we're gonna go look at another one because just to show you like a different example, because this wasn't a kill shot or anything like that. But that's just to show you. Again, don't focus too much on the cavity. The cavity is usually like on kill shots and things like that. It's mostly penetration for the most part, and the cavity just does like an overkill. So a lot of the times the cavity is not too important. Well, it is important, but we'll come back to that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch animals. Okay, and here we have a doe. Now the other one was a buck. This is a doe. One of the questions is, like, does male, female have different hit points? It doesn't look like it. We haven't done like all the research on all the different animals, but currently no. The lungs are both 400 here. But I'm going to show you another one. Actually, I think it's a different. Yeah, it's a different. This is a 300, so it's a different caliber for an example. So we're dealing with a lot more energy, different cavity, and all that sort of thing. And you can see the penetration bars are almost all the way full. So, knowing what we know, that each of these lungs are going to be 400 joules, we know that the right lung, our little equation, is going to equal more than 400 joules. And we know that this one, if the theory holds, should be almost 400. So we can kind of look at this one and you can almost guess 380. Now, I know I'm like recording a video, so you're like, Bubble, you probably just did this math ahead of time. and you know, and just making it work. But no, that's why we're gonna go shoot a deer, and I'm just gonna show you it working. But I just want to see, like, show you the basics of it, and because this one's a better example because it almost fills up the bar the whole way, so that you can see that it's 400. But yeah, I probably did the math at one time on this one, but I haven't done it in a while, so we'll do the same thing. We're gonna find the entry in the left lung. So as soon as it blinks, you're gonna get 3,151 joules. Joules of combined energy or damage, and then we're going to find the exit point, which is the next dot. As soon as it stops blinking, you're going to subtract 2,381. We're going to get 770. That is the number of combined joules. So we're going to extract the useful information, which is the penetration damage, which is 48% of the total. We're going to multiply it by 0.48. We get a number. Guess what we're going to get? 369, round up to 370. 370 looks about pretty close to the 400. And if you like get your little ruler out, you're going to find that that's about 30 units right there of little ice cream part. There's a tiny bit of ice cream in this one. Yeah, you're gonna, that little smudge there is about 30, and if you triple the size of it, so if we know this little chunk is 30 and you times it by 3, you're gonna get to the 90 point, and a little bit more is gonna be your 100, and then you're gonna have 100, 200, 300, and 400. So there, that one checks out as well. Now we can check on the second lung. We have the interesting situation where the second lung that is hit has more penetration damage into it, but it filled up the bar completely. So we know it's going to have more than 400, but let's just check on the damage here. So the lung starts to blink right at that point. So we're going to take 2,294 joules. We're going to go all the way down to when it stops blinking. And that's right there. So we're going to subtract 1,428. We're going to get a new number, 866. That was higher than the one here. We're going to extract the 48% pen damage and move it to the health bar. The number we get is 415. So penetration damage went 415, filled up the bar, and went over by 15. The rest was all cavity. So in this case, I'm not really going to look at the cavity because we have no way to measure anything like that. But again, the penetration is the one we're focusing on now because we can calculate it and we can get it really accurately. And we can use it to get all the different hit points for all the different animals. And at that point, then we can kind of work on cavity. So what we're going to be doing now is, just to show you that I'm not fully baloney here, we are going to just go and shoot an animal live here, and find a pixel animal here to use as an example. Okay, so the rifle we will be using for this little test shot is going to be the 6.5 Creed bore, and it's an important science bullet because the cavity damage expels really fast, really early on. And so it makes little things a little easier because the cavity damage is kind of out of the way for the most part. Or, well, in this case with these tier 5 mule deer and whitetail, almost all the cavity damage is deposited into one lung, so you don't really get it like overfill into the other lung. Which it's with this sort of damage model figuring out, it's only the pen damage we're caring about anyways, but it makes it a little easier to see in the picture. So we're going to jump out here. Now, yes, I've been live streaming stuff like that and testing this during live streams and out of the live streams. So I already know this is, you know, it's going to work. Well, I have many theories that, you know, I run when I'm trying to like sort out things that are in the game. And typically what I do is I just go with the theory that seems most consistent and most reliable. And then I just keep using that theory until it's proven wrong. So I have a couple theories that I've been running, and if I use them for long enough and they never get proven wrong, then that's just how the game's kind of working. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just watching pretty much every shot I do, doing the measurement recording and make sure it matches and makes sense to all the other past examples, and the math adds up. So far, it's checked out every single time. But I've only been doing, we're working on the mule deer, whitetail, and moose for now. I haven't been working on it too long. The other guys are working on it too. figuring stuff out. And I'm sure this kind of info will get added to Toothless Chihuahua Greg's manual there when it gets. But it's a lot of work, and with the ammo change coming up, I'm sure it's going to extend and make it even more complicated. But we have a good baseline anyways to get it started. So we're just looking for an animal here. There's like a mule deer that normally... Oh, they're right there. There. I'm just going to line up a shot here. Just take a second. The wind is good. Everything like that. We have a little bit of elevation. I don't know if I brought the chair. Did I bring the chair? No. I've stopped using the chair. It feels a little too arcadey, even though I do like easy mode for the most part. It just feels kind of weird. I'd rather just have the chair set up and, you know, kind of like shooting spots. Pre-set up. Feels a little more better. So let's see if we got... It doesn't matter who I take here. Oh, they're all seeing me. But look, I got no good shot here. Someone walk on the other side of that. Oh, don't run away. Come on now. Behave. Okay, just a second. I'm gonna skip ahead here till I... Oh, here we go. Can I sneak a double lung? I want a double lung. He's walking away. See, 1-star young. If we sneak over here, behind this rock, oh, and through the jungle. Man, why'd I pick these guys? It doesn't matter which one. I just need a broadside. I want a good solid hit to show you. I could do just a crazy bad shot, and I mean, but I need them to go down. I don't want to be doing multiple shots here. I just want an example. Oh, look, I can maybe squeak into this doe over here. Oh, here's a... He looks too old for a 1-star yet. His antlers looked a little older than I would expect for that. Maybe he's an adult. Maybe this one. Let's just do a quartering away shot. There, that should have got both lungs. I think so. Let's see if we can track her down. Oh, look at this. Yeah, I won't get into that. People have said that they've noticed need zones that they had to collect again that they've collected before, and I've definitely been noticing that. I don't quite get it. This is like the most highly traveled area of all the game for me. So it's always like over 2 years. How have I missed glowing need zones? I don't know. Maybe I have missed them. I don't know. But I'm finding them in areas that I know that I've gone around. Anyways, let's go pick her up. It might take her a second to go down. Oh, while we're finding her, actually, just a little bit of news here on like early access stuff like that. I don't know when this video is going up, but it's going to go up before early access stuff, of course. Oh, there she goes. She's getting up there. So my plan for it is, of course, I'm going to have a video on the release day, just going over. It's not going to be any spoilers or anything. I don't plan on spoilers or anything like that in the first one, kind of like the other ones I've done. It's just going to be basically general info. Like, it's going to be a lot of info. It's not going to be like one of those little quick little things like, here's the map, woo, this is the basics. It's going to go through the patch notes, and it's going to go through all the significant changes and things like that. And then the next day, we all know that there's the ammo change, which is going to be a significant change, of course. So the next day, I'm going to have a video that is all about the ammo changes. So I can't get into any information now, but it's like any kind of specific information, of course, it's all embargoed. But essentially, I'm going to go through all like the ammo sort of selection in a summary sort of way, so you can sort of get a spot to start. Like, you know, this ammo used to be like this, and now it's, you know, now here's the choices, and this is how it compares to how it used to be, sort of thing. I don't know if you can sort of follow that. That's going to be the second video, and then everything else is just going to be me streaming it, probably. So that's the plan if you're wondering what's happening with that. So back to it here. We got the purple glow. Someone in stream said try out the purple. I'm trying out the purple. It's a little easier on the eyes in some ways. But let's pick her up and take a look at the science. How am I doing on time? 25 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got a double lung. It's just not a super good shot. She was down low. Anyways, but this will do. This will do actually perfect. So the theory is basically it's 400 joules per lung, and we're just going to double check both of them to make sure that's accurate. So what we can do, since we know that, we can sort of do a guesstimate right now. And you can see on your screen, do your own little guess here, how far along it is. We know like the halfway point's there. And this is pretty much sitting. It looks like it's sitting just above 3/4, so I'm going to say it's 310. What do you think? 310, if it's a 400 thing, I'm going to guess 310. Once you do this enough, you don't actually have to do the calculation. Like if you're curious, curious how much hit points your penetration did. And if you know this, like you get used to it, it actually creates some interesting scenarios when you have some interesting shots that go a little weird. But anyways, that's why this stuff's kind of cool if you get used to it. But this is, I don't really do the calculation too much anymore on these because I can eyeball most of it. But I'm gonna see. You got to practice, right? Like I think that's 310. I'm gonna say 310. Let's see how close we get here. Remember, we're just focusing on penetration damage, so we're gonna do the super secret formula here that the developers have made for us for whatever theory they got going on here. We got 60 to 89 is the entry penetration, and then we're gonna go or entry energy, and then we're gonna go where it stops blinking. There we go, right there. We're going to subtract 1035. And what's the number we get? 654. 654. We're going to times that by our magic number, 0.48. 313.92. Oh, that was a close guess. 310 was my guess. Round up, 314 penetration damage. So that jives. Right, that checks out. Now we can do the left lung just for fun, just for double checking everything, and you can do this yourself at home. You know, it's good fun. It's good fun. There's nothing better to do, right? But sit here and do this. But anyways, I digress. We're gonna go and look at this left lung here. We're gonna find where it blinks. There's the blinkaroo, and we have 710. 710 is a good number. And of course, we're going to go down and find where the blinking stops. There's the blinking stops here. We're going to subtract 346. It's a good number as well. 364 is the total there. We're going to times it by the magic number 0.48. We get a number of 174. Oh, I didn't do a guess ahead of time. Did I do a guess and just forgot to do it? 174 is where it's sitting. Look at that. Does that look below the halfway point to you? It looks below the halfway point to me. It looks like it's a smudge below the halfway point. Almost like it's 25 joules below the halfway point. Anyways, there it checks out too. So basically, this is the leading theory, only because it checks out every single time and it makes sense now. So, yeah. And you can see that with the Creedmoor, as far as penetration's done, see how it's like a super small sliver? This is basically like, what, 10 joules or something like that? You can sort of see how like this part of the cone like basically counts for nothing. Like there's like no cavity in there. So it's got to be studied more like this, because it looks like there should be more than like a 10 smidgen of joules there. But what we don't know is like the concentration. Like maybe the cavity damage is all like at its highest point in the middle of the cone, and then it gets weaker as it expands out, which makes sense. So there could be like it's stronger here, right? This is where it's all concentrated, and then it spreads out, and like it's basically nothing out here. So we don't know, right? This one's a hard one to test, but that's essentially what it is. You might be saying, oh, we have the cavity damage over here, or the energy, just times it by 52. Well, that's not going to work at all. Because if you take, like here, I'll just show this right here. So in this left lung, we have a smidgen of cavity damage, which is only like 10 joules. But if I did the same math, right, I already forget what this was, 364. If I take 52% of that, I'm going to get something like 180. So there is not 180 joules in here, in this lung. Like, that is not 180 joules. So that, like, taking the cavity damage off of this bar, completely useless information, and it breaks everything. Like, everything else works, and it makes sense because this is linear, and it's, anyways. So that's why you can't really use that for cavity damage. And that is why we need to be relying on this picture, which is soon, once we figure out a lot of the hit points, you know, it's pretty much nailed down here. It's fairly easy to get the hit points at this point. Hit points at this point, of course, that's the point. Yeah, here we can start really kind of focusing down on the cavity damage. I don't think it's, with the ammo change coming up, I don't think it's going to be a heavy focus until we get that. For all I know, some of this is going to be adjusted, right? I don't know. I hope not. Well, if it's adjusted, since we now have like the base of how it works, if they do adjustment, we should be able to figure it out from there. Okay, guys, half an hour video. I mean, could you know, there's no better way to spend 30 minutes of your day listening to how to calculate damage in your favorite hunting game. So yeah, there you go. It's as simple as that, guys. As simple as that. I have no idea why we couldn't see that earlier. I mean, anybody just picking up the game can look at that and be like, oh, that's how that damage is done. Of course, you take the entry energy of cavity and penetration and subtract the exit energy of both cavity and pen to find the difference. Then you simply multiply that by 0.48, and then you get your ruler out and you measure on the screen how much the little bar fills up, and there you go. That is how you do it. I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of that before. But it certainly wasn't me that sorted out the whole thing. And during a stream, it just kind of clicked. I'm like, oh, that's what's happening. But I didn't solve the whole thing. Of course, I asked some of the other science guys what they thought of it, and Greg Toothless Chihuahua there, he gave me that ratio, the 48 and the 52. I never even realized that. But that's sort of key. I mean, you can just round it up to 50-50 really for, you know, we're just looking at little health bar thingies. Like if you wanted to make it real, you know, just close enough, just go 50-50 for easy math. But he did that, so shout out to Greg. Greg's doing the science on it, of course, so we'll see what else he finds. And then good old Liquid Fire, I was talking to him, and he gave me a couple ideas that was solving, like I ran into a couple problems with it, and he gave me an idea there that helped out with that, so thank you to him too on that one. So yeah, that's about it. The only other thing I need to do is, because the channel is, you know, it's growing, it's doing its thing, it's got the 10,000 thing. It's never, you know, it's kind of going a little crazy here. But I got these things because I gotta thank the people. I've got the member thing popping up on the screen there. So Old Man Rum, he's an awesome YouTuber. Check out his channel for sure. Not everyone here is part of his clan, but some of them are. They jumped in there, helped out the channel. We got Dragonborn, which is a regular. Anyways, the names there, like the member things running, and then I got the little super chat, the recent ones. I think I'm missing a couple there, so if you did a little donation thing and names up there, sorry, I just haven't gotten to popping up. Some of them are repeats, so the name's probably up there, but I might have missed one or so. I've got to come back and double check, so sorry about that. But I now, you know, 10,000 subscribers. I gotta start doing the thank yous and everything like that. I was always thanking. I mean, that the financial support stuff is absolutely fantastic, and that's super. I mean, that's you know, that's what's basically able to help me stream like a lot. If it continues that way, we'll see. What is growling? Is a pheasant growling? But anyways, that's kind of what's going on there. But the most valuable part of a YouTube channel, of course, is just the long time consistent viewers that hang out there. So that's always the most important part. So of course, thanks everybody that has hung out with the channel that long and keeps coming back, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works and grows the channel. But I'll stop rambling now because I got to get to bed. And yeah, remember to try and check out the stream. Usually it's 10 p.m. Eastern or 11 p.m. Eastern or something like that. if I could do it. It's happening most days now. And then once the game or once the new DLC comes out, then I'll be trying. As long as everything goes smooth, there should be lots of streaming and all that, but it's usually in that time window. Okay, guys, I'm gonna shut up now. 35 minutes. Oh my goodness, that was quite the explanation. So let me know any questions or concerns. Happy hunting, guys. Take care. See you in the next one.